Hello, welcome, or welcome back. Once again, we're glad you're here. We're going to take a shot at Vaetchanan, the fourth reading about Moses regiving the commandments. Again, we mentioned we're doing the commandments today. Uh, it's an interesting read. Uh, it won't be boring at all. There's some interesting things in here that you probably never caught, and it makes you think, "Wow, how did I miss that?" So stay tuned. You want to catch these details. Stay all the way to the end. We got some. I'll link up some of the other videos here for you um, with some interesting tidbits on them. So without further ado, we're going to start in Bet Canaan, the fourth reading, Deuteronomy 5:1 through 5:18. Moses prefaced his review by reminding the people that when God gave them the Torah at Mount Sinai, he established a covenant with them. Moses summoned all Israel and said to them, "Hear, Israel, the rules and ordinances that I speak in your ears today. Study them and safeguard them by learning how to perform them properly. Your obligation to observe these rules and ordinances is based on the fact that God, our God, made a covenant with us at Mount Horeb, not with our forefathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob alone did he make this covenant, in which case you would only be bound to it by tradition and hearsay, which might leave you some reason to doubt my words. But with each of us personally, those who are here today, all of us who are alive, when he first pronounced all the Ten Commandments at once, God spoke with you at the mountain face to face, without an intermediary, out of the midst of the fire. When God repeated each commandment separately, you only heard the first two directly from him. I stood as an intermediary between God and you at the time in order to tell you the word of God regarding the last 8 commandments, for you were afraid of the fire and did not want to ascend the mountain. The first commandment, I am God your God who took you out of Egypt, out of house of Pharaoh, where you were slaves. The second commandment, you must not possess any idols of other people's deities as long as I exist, ever, wherever I may be, anywhere. You must not make for yourselves a sculpted image or any other type of likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, on the earth below, or in the water lower than the earth surrounding it, even if you do not intend to worship it. And if others make such idols, you must neither prostrate yourself before them nor worship them, for I, God your God, am a zealous God in this regard. For those who hate me and worship idols, I am a God who remembers the premeditated sins of the fathers, adding their demerit to those of their descendants, but only up to the third and fourth generation, and only if these descendants also worship idols. But in contrast, I am a God who shows kindness for at least 2,000 generations to the descendants of those who love me and worship me alone out of that love, and for fear and 1,000 generations of descendants of those who observe my commandments solely out of fear and respect. Such is the difference between being motivated by love and being motivated by fear or respect. And isn't that interesting that they always say the importance is that you obey it, but it's the attitude behind it. And God gives twice the amount of blessings if you do it with the love in your heart than if you do it just out of fear and respect. So it's important to love God and learn his commandments in a manner that you obey them out of love and not just out of fear. If out of fear, you still get 1,000 times more blessings, but how much more if you do it out of love? Um, we're going to move on with the third commandment in verse 11. You must respect God's name. You must not swear by the name of God, your God, in vain, by swearing that something is something that it is manifestly it is not. For God will not absolve anyone who swears by his name in vain. The fourth commandment, Remember and observe the Sabbath day continuously to keep it holy, just as God your God commanded you prior to the giving of the Torah at Marah. Remember the Sabbath by anticipating it during the preceding week. Observe the Sabbath day by refraining on it from all the categories of prohibited work. We'll go into that in just a minute. 6 days must you labor and do all your work. But even if you have not finished all your work during the 6 preceding work days, the 7th day is the Sabbath, dedicated to God, your God. You should behave on the Sabbath as if all your work is done. You must not do any work, you, your son, or your daughter, even though your children are not technically obligated to observe the commandments until they attain majority. You must nevertheless not permit them to engage in any form of forbidden work. I want to speak a minute there about work. They talk about the work and the prohibited work and forbidden work. And all of this type of work is about the 39 melekot, or forbidden types of work. So there's 39 forbidden types of work or categories of work that God forbid to do on the Sabbath day, on Shabbat. So we don't do those things. It reminds me, years ago, I had a window air conditioner, and I didn't know any big deal about the window air conditioner. And where we lived, there was grass behind it, and the window air conditioner constantly dripped water during the summertime, and it was dripping on that grass. So inadvertently, I didn't know, and my rabbi said, "No, you got to do something about that," because I was inadvertently breaking one of the 39 melekot by watering the grass or watering plants. And anyhow, you really need to study this about the 39 melekot. It's not just moving your couch. You can move your couch all around the living room on Shabbat if you want to. That's not work. And there's even certain jobs that you're permitted to do on Shabbat, even if that's your work, because that's not the type of work they're talking about. It's specifically the 39 melekot. And when you get outside of Judaism, that really goes haywire as to what is work. So I wanted to clarify that for you. We're moving on there with verse 14, I think it is. Your bondman and your bondwoman are likewise forbidden to work, since they are obligated to observe all the prohibitions that you are. You may also not make your ox, your donkey, or your livestock work. The resident alien who is permitted to live within your gates is also forbidden to work, though not to the same extent that you are. You and your animals should rest on the Sabbath, besides for your and their own sake, in order that your bondman and your bondwoman rest like you, and not have to serve you or take care of your animals. You must remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and that God, your God, took you out from with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm, on the condition that you fulfill his commandments. Therefore, God, your God, commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. So completing there, God commanded the Jewish people to observe the Sabbath day. And if you were not part of the Jewish people there, you were one that dwelt among the Jewish people, as it mentioned there. It says that they are also, the alien who's permitted to live within your gates is also forbidden to work, though not to the same extent that you are. There's different regulations for that. We're not going to go into that in this reading, but there's different things between the Ger, who are allowed to do more things than the Jews are, and that's given here in this in the Ten Commandments. So as we move on to the fifth commandment, honor your father and mother, as God your God also commanded you at Marah, in order that your days be lengthened, that it go well with you in the land that God your God is giving you. The sixth commandment, you must not murder. The seventh commandment, you must not commit adultery. In other words, conduct extramarital relations with a married woman. The eighth commandment, you must not steal people or kidnap. That's not just generic steal. That's specifically talking about stealing people and kidnapping. Not as many people have thought all these years. The ninth commandment, you must not bear false witness against your fellow man. The 10th commandment, you must not desire your fellow man's wife, nor may you desire the fellow man's house, his field, his bondman, his bondwoman, his ox, his donkey, or anything else that belongs to your fellow man. As Moshe goes over those final 10 commandments, which are the bullet points for the full 613. So we can remember how to follow the 613. We have those bullet points over so we can remember it. And we need to rehearse them and study them and study how to keep them, that we may live. That we may live. And that's why I picked that for the thumbnail, that you may live. And so that is Vaetchanan, the fourth reading, Deuteronomy 5:1 through 5:18. We've reheard the 10 commandments there, and that brings us to our final point. And you know the thing. You know the thing. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And I always say, I hope you liked it. I hope you really liked it. And if you liked it well enough to share with somebody else that might think this is interesting. And if you liked it well enough to share, why don't you subscribe so you don't miss another video? We'd love to have you as a member subscribed on our channel. If you missed any of Devarim, I will pin that on the link up here. If you missed any of Vaetchanan that's so far in the playlist, I'll put that one up here. Somewhere towards the bottom will be a link for you to subscribe. Thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed our lesson today. God bless. Have a good day or evening.